Hi everyone, it's Kirsten from Roots and Wildflowers, and today we're going to talk about seeds. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is where you can buy your seeds. Then we're going to get into the different types of seeds and the best way to store them. So first of all, where I bought my seeds from, just as a total disclaimer for this year, was Walmart. They were the first garden center in our area to actually have their seeds out for you to buy this season. I think I bought them about a month ago, and it was the cheapest option for me. Now, if you're a seasoned vegetable gardener, yes, you can definitely go to all the seed supply stores or like specialty seed companies like West Coast Seeds, Vase Seeds, Baker Creek Seeds. They have the heirloom seeds. There's lots of different places that you can go if you're looking for a specialty plant. But if you're just getting started like myself in my second season, you're not looking for something super special, your typical garden centers or Walmart are going to be the best place to look. So places like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, anything like that, or even your grocery stores, they should have seeds in stock. So again, if you're looking for specialty, definitely go to actual seed companies. If you're looking for simple to get started, your garden centers are the place to go. The second thing I'm going to talk about here is a type of seeds. So in my eyes, there are three different types of seeds. You have conventional, organic, and heirloom. Now, I grow a little bit of a mix of everything. I just grab what looks good to me. So the first one we'll talk about is conventional. These are Burton seeds, and conventional seeds are your standard seed, I would say, that are grown from standard agricultural practices. So this means they may use toxic chemicals. I say toxic because they might not necessarily be something that you're looking to have in your food. So they might use pesticides, fertilizers, herbicides, etc. that is used for disease and pest management. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more natural or clean, your best option is actually going to be organic seeds. And you're going to want to look for something that says USDA organic or this is Canada Organic, our seal. So this means that it is grown and harvested from plants that were grown with organic practices in mind. So there's certain certification, they have to grow certain ways. They can't be near runoff of residue chemicals from other farms that aren't organic. You actually have to grow organic, I believe, for 3 years for it to be considered organic. You can't use typical pesticides or herbicides. You have to use things that are considered a more natural alternative. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more healthy for your family, organic is going to be the way to go. And then lastly is heirloom. Now, heirloom seeds are seeds that have been around for a really long time. I think most people consider heirloom seeds anything that's been around for probably 50 years or more. So these are seeds that are passed down generation to generation. A lot of people really love growing with heirloom seeds because they're considered hardy. A lot of them are disease resistant, and you're going to get really tried and true flavors and different vegetables that you love, and it's been around for like generations in the family because there are so many different varieties. So a lot of people I know love heirloom or organic, but what you buy is going to be based off of what your standard for your garden is. If your goal is to grow an organic garden, then obviously you're going to go with organic seeds. But if you're just starting out and you want something that's a little bit more cost effective, conventional is totally fine. I'm growing a mix of everything. I'm not using any chemicals or fertilizers that would be not considered organic, but I don't mind using some conventional seeds. That doesn't bother me. So it's really up to, in your gut, what you're okay with. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about actually is considerations. So for me, there's so many seeds, you can get really overwhelmed and also really excited when you're at the garden center and you see all this stuff, or if you're just flipping through your seed catalogs, whichever way you shop. So for me, what I wanted to do this year was sit down with my partner and we wrote out a list of the things that we typically buy at the grocery store and also what we enjoy eating. So for us, yeah, I eat a lot of strawberries. I don't eat a lot of kale. I'm sorry, I'm just not a kale person. I'd rather have lettuce. We eat carrots. I use onions regularly for cooking. Anything like that. Really break down what your family eats and what you enjoy eating and make that list to go to the seed store with to decide what you need, because otherwise you're going to come home with way more than you actually need. I've done it myself. And then you're going to have seeds that may expire. So really think about how much you want as well. So like, what size is your garden? For us, we started out with just 2 raised beds last year to start small, reasonable for our first year, and I only had about a dozen varieties. So there's nothing wrong with going, I only need maybe like 5 to 10 different types of seeds to try. Don't overwhelm yourself that first year. If you're an expert or you're really into it, go ahead, try as many as you want. I'm not stopping you, but I'm just saying for cost-effective reasons, and so it's not going to waste either. It's a really good idea to determine what you actually like, how much space you have to grow it, and also think about how many people you're going to feed. So I won't need as many plants to feed 2 people, 2 adults, versus 4 adults in a family. So think about how much you want to actually get a yield of a harvest off of a plant. You may need more plants of the same plant in order to get that harvest that you're looking for, or you might need less. Something like zucchini, for our family of 4, I'm only going to plant 2 plants because they keep going all summer long. Where other things, you might actually want to do succession planting, so plant them more often, so you have a harvest throughout the entire season. Something like radishes that have a really early harvest date, like to mature, you can keep planting those throughout the season, aside from like a gap in the middle of summer when it's really hot, but you can start in spring and have another harvest in fall. So think about how much fruits and vegetables you want, how many people you're trying to feed, and how much space you have, so you know which seeds you really need to purchase. Next thing I'm going to talk about is actually storage. So on the back of your seeds, you may see something that says packed for end the year and sell by probably the following year. That's pretty standard. So a lot of seeds have expiry dates on them. This does not mean that your seeds go bad after that year. Is it best to use them in that year? Yes, and here's why. The germination rate on seeds is higher when they're freshly packed. So these are seeds that were harvested last season that are ready for this season. The longer you hold onto seeds, there's a good chance that the germination rates are going to go down. So something that might have had like a 90% germination rate might end up with like a 70, 60 or lower, depending on the seed and how you store them, germination rate, which means you're going to need more seeds in order to end up with the amount of plants that you want in the end, because there's a good chance when you do your cell trays or you direct sow, a lot of them aren't going to actually come up. So yes, there are expiry dates on the back of your seeds, but if you store them properly, they for sure should last for 2 years, if not even longer. You've heard of people passing down seeds for generation to generation. What's important is storage. So for storage, the key to it is keeping it in a cool, dry place that's out of sunlight. So some people have old filing cabinets that they keep them in. I've actually seen people really creative with like old photo albums, like books, putting it in the sleeves and keeping their seeds there so they look through it like a catalog. I've seen the accordion folders that you can get from like Staples. People put them in there based off of either variety or when they need to be planted. Now the way that I do it, that we decided to do it this year, was with a photo storage box. So it's pretty big. I've got lots of room in here. You can get these from Michael's, your craft stores. I just bought this off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the bio to the one that I got, so you can purchase it through there if you like. And I organize this with the little file folders inside based off of when I need to plant and different varieties or herbs, flowers, things like that. So let's say here I have a little photo box, and I like these ones that have like the darker surface, just so if it was anywhere near sunlight, you have like that UV protection. So even a darker box I would recommend is even better, because then no light gets into it. So you can just open up these little boxes, and I've had big seed packets that go all the way to the top. Every seed packet I've bought has fit in here. Now the way that I've organized these with these little stickers is in order from the earliest seeds that I'm going to start indoors to all the way out to direct sow, and then after that. So one of the most important things for these seeds and to know when gardening is when your first and last frost date is. This will tell you how long your harvest season is, and based off of if you have cold or warm temperature seeds, when they'll like to be planted. So for us, it's May 8th. I'll actually put a link to one of the websites you can use to find your frost date based off of your postal code. So ours says May 8th, but just to be safe, a lot of people in Ontario and garden centers follow after the May 2-4 weekend. So after that May long weekend, you're typically safe. So I'm going to base it off of that. But what I do is I put all my seeds into an Excel sheet to be really organized, a spreadsheet, and then I'll put in the different dates that they say. So I'll actually include a couple of things on this Excel sheet, and this will help me organize my box. So I will use the information that's on the back of our seed packet that says if they like to be sown indoors, if they can be direct seeded, when they like to be thinned or transplanted, and then when you harvest. So this is all really important information so you know when your plants need to get into the ground. So for me, if I can direct sow, this particular cabbage can be started indoors or direct sown. I'm going to direct sow. I just prefer it. Starting seeds indoors is new to me. It also feels like a little bit more work. So if I can, I'm going to avoid it. The only two things that for sure I'm going to start indoors are peppers and tomatoes. They just need that extra time. So I will put in when this needs to be done. And for this, indoors is February to March, or direct sowing is May to June. And then I'll be able to harvest in August and October, it looks like, or September. So I will base it off of this. I'll put it all in my spreadsheet, and then I'll be able to organize it going, okay, these seeds need to be sown in May or June. And then I know how many weeks out from my frost date this may be, because sometimes this particular seed packet actually says the month, but some of them will say, for example, this one doesn't say it. I think I read it online, but it will say 4 weeks before last frost, etc. Anything like that. Or this one says plant outside as soon as the ground can be worked. So that means after your last frost when the ground is de-thawed. So I'm going to base it off of that. And when I do that, it gives me a spreadsheet of what needs to go out when, or what needs to be started when. And from there, I can organize, and you might be able to see that I have indoors 4 to 6 weeks before last frost, direct sow after last frost. There's just different plants have different requirements. This makes it easier also that as the season goes on, I can just grab the next box and go. I know what's ready to be planted. So I really like this method just because it keeps me organized and is a way for my brain personally. Like, I just like things being laid out this way that I can really see it as a visual. So I would suggest this if you think the same way, you like tactical, but you like it to be organized in compartments. This is the easiest way to do it. So if you have a seed packet also, I'm just going to add with this. The seeds have changed. I really like these seeds, but they don't have any requirements about when. You actually have to check their website for it, but they do have information about full sun or partial sun, what kind of sunlight requirements you need, how much watering requirements you need, and then depth, spacing, and days to harvest. So when you pay attention to days to harvest, this is going to tell you if your planting season is only like 147 days. You're going to know how, and depending on when this needs to be seeded, you might actually be able to get 2 harvests out of it. Like I said, like radishes, this is something that can be done in successions. They like cold weather, so spring and fall. Pay attention to those things because then you might be able to extend the season for a particular crop. Now this one, it's also really important to pay attention to what it says for seed depth and spacing. When you're planting your seeds, you're making your garden as optimal as possible. You're getting the most out of your square footage. So you don't want to overcrowd your plants because then they go into shock. But you also don't want to plant less than you can because then you're missing out on that harvest. So I would definitely recommend reading the back of your seed packets. They're going to give you all the information that you need. You don't need to go elsewhere for it. This is it. Another thing I wanted to mention, there are specific varieties that are made for different types of techniques of harvest, or for post-harvest, I'm going to say. So, for example, I really wanted cucumbers, but I wanted cucumbers for 2 reasons. I wanted English cucumbers that I could use for salads or snacks, but then I also wanted pickling cucumbers. They're 2 different varieties. So I do have English cucumbers that I'm going to direct seed in the garden. We did them last year and they were really successful. But I also got these little cucumbers that certain seed companies will say this. You can preserve. I've also gotten beans that say they're good for canning or they're good in the freezer. So you might want to look out on seed packets depending on how you eat these foods, if you like them fresh or you're planning on canning, or maybe you're going to make pickles and preserves that way, where you're doing brines. Pay attention that there might be varieties that are best suited for those conditions. So I think I got a couple different ones for that, but I know for sure pickles was my best example. So those are a couple different examples of the different types of seeds you can use, the considerations when buying seeds, how you can store your seeds to make it really easy. And for me, I'm just going to pop this box in our storage room in the basement. It's cement, it's nice and cold, there are no windows there, so these are going to be really good. They're going to last me a couple years because they're in a safe space and a good environment. There's not too much humidity or anything. So I would definitely recommend this method if you're starting to get into it, and I highly recommend the Excel sheet to get you organized, so then you know exactly when you need to be planting out your seedlings, your plants, or actually direct sowing your seeds, so you can get the most out of your garden this year. If you have any other questions about seed starting, I'm actually going to be doing a video about indoor seed starting next, so watch out for that. But if you have any more questions about seeds, what type of varieties I'm growing, anything like that, feel free to reach out and ask in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you even have suggestions and you're a tenured gardener compared to me, please, I would love to hear your advice. So reach out and let me know. And I'm sure people that are watching the videos would love to learn from your experience. I'm all about sharing knowledge here, so I would really appreciate that. And be sure to follow us on Instagram. That's where I am most active, so you'll see more updates about my garden there as the season goes on and what I'm planting as the weeks go on. Going into it, starting seeds indoors, I'll probably update that in my stories. So thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this video and you could learn a little from it. And I hope you have a great day. We'll see you later.